Next week on Home and Away in the UK, as the new bait shop is revealed, how will Alf feel about his friends and family's secret efforts? There's been devastation in Summer Bay in recent weeks, when town stalwart Alf Stewart was forced to close the bait shop that he'd run from Flat Beach Wharf for the past 17 years. The unseen owners of the building, which also houses the Pier Diner and the apartment currently occupied by Rose and Bree, recently gave notice to Alf that they intended to almost double the rent of the small unit. Despite a campaign by Rue to drum up public support, including a complimentary story in the Coastal News, the landlord remained unswayed. Unable to afford it, and with other rental units in the area commanding a similar rate, Alf admitted defeat and reluctantly closed the shop. Alf later had a brainwave and looked into the idea of opening up a small store at the Caravan Park, its proximity to the beach and the constant turnaround of holidaymakers sure to provide good business prospects. Not to mention the added benefit of being on his own property with no greedy landlord to contend with. Rue wasn't too enthused by Alf's idea to convert a dirty old shed, however, and started looking into a purpose-built unit. The $30,000 price tag was something of a stumbling block, but a generous donation from Remy saw the costs covered, with Justin and John drafted in to build it. The pair colluded with Rue and Marilyn to try and keep the build a surprise for Alf, who at that point still planned to clear out the old shed. It didn't take long for him to discover their scheme, however. It was at the bottom of his driveway after all, and he took great pleasure in stringing Rue along for a while before she clicked that he was onto them. This week, still frustrated that she was rumbled, Rue decides to play a little prank on Alf in order to reinstate the surprise element, with the added bonus of gaining one up on her dad again. Both Alf and John are disappointed when Rue announces that there's been a delay with the council approvals, and so they'll have to delay the opening of the shop by another week. Once Alf is out of the way, Rue clarifies to John that she's only pulling Alf's leg, though Justin and Marilyn are unsure whether that's a good idea. Although Alf is desperate to head on down to get a glimpse at the new shop, Marilyn is again tasked with keeping Alf away the next day. But this time Alf's stubbornness wins out, and as they head down to the Caravan Park, Alf is surprised to find a huge gathering of people waiting for him. John and Justin have the barbecue set up, with Rue and Leah dishing out cake. As Rue spots Alf and Marilyn approaching, she announces Alf's arrival to the crowd, who all erupt into applause. Alf is speechless as he walks towards his brand new bait shop, all finished and ready to open for business. "What do you reckon?" asks Justin, and everyone waits with bated breath as Alf remains silent. "I think we might have broken him," Leah comments, as even Rue starts to look a little nervous. Heading up the steps and turning around to face the crowd, a big grin suddenly appears on Alf's face. "I reckon she's a beauty," Alf announces, to another rapturous applause. Rue goes on to present Alf with a framed photo of himself outside the old bait shop, complete with his catch of the day, for posterity. Though uncertain of his exact involvement, Alf is even able to find some grateful words for John, before he asks Rue to give him the grand tour. The shop exceeds Alf's expectations as Rue shows him both the spacious shop floor and the adjoining workshop area. Keen to get a glimpse of Alf's tackle and other wares, Marilyn then enters the shop and selects a fishing rod, announcing that she'd be honored to be Alf's first customer. Alf can't help but laugh, knowing full well that she doesn't want it, as she admits she just wants to show her support, but nevertheless he rings the transaction through. Alf is back in business, and all is right in the world. Alf having a bait shop in Summer Bay stretches right back to the show's beginnings. At that point Alf was operating Stewart Supplies, a small bait shop combined with a bottle shop, which was first seen on screen during Home and Away's second week, airing in the UK in February 1989. After joining forces with sister Celia, following the destruction of her own store, the pair eventually went on to open the Stewart store, which stocked all manner of groceries. Alf moved to a smaller store in 1992, continuing as a general store for 5 years until it was destroyed in the Summer Bay earthquake. In the 1997 season, Alf returned to his roots by opening up a small bait shop in partnership with Jesse McGregor, AJ's Bait and Bits, but this was destroyed by a fire in December 1999. It wasn't until 2008 that Alf leased the small shop at Flat Beach Wharf, shortly after the diner had just relocated to the same building, which he intended to run alongside grandson Rick. But he was left to run it alone when, seeing how miserable Rick was after girlfriend Matilda had left for Union WA, he fired Rick and gifted him a one-way ticket to Perth. After 14 years, the show was forced to stop filming exterior scenes at both the bait shop and Pier Diner back in 2022, when the real-life location at Palm Beach had to be demolished and rebuilt. The build was completed early last year, but whilst it was previously confirmed that the building's new owners were in talks with Seven to have Home and Away continue filming there, it appears that no agreement was ever reached. Although exterior diner scenes have been replaced by those at the coffee cart, which seem to be ongoing for the foreseeable future, the bait shop remained off-screen until now. Instead of finding an alternative location, the show has secured a future for the bait shop by building their own at the existing Caravan Park filming location, which in reality sits over 35 kilometers inland at Kenthurst, on the same estate as Summer Bay House and Summer Bay Auto.